Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Vijeta Raghuram, the Program Manager Education at India Bioscience. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with us, India Bioscience is a not for profit organization working towards strengthening the life science community of India through a wide range of programs and activities targeted towards life science researchers, educators, students, policymakers, and other science professionals. Today's webinar, like our past education webinars, is focused towards biology educators teaching in colleges and universities. In addition to webinars, we also organize events and workshops for educators to promote networking among them and help their professional development. On our website, we publish education columns showcasing novel pedagogical approaches, interviews with educators, and more. We also publish podcasts, books, and other resources which you can find on our website. The link is provided in the chat box. Coming back to today's webinar, we have with us Dr. Geeta Mathur, a retired associate professor of botany at Gargi College, University of Delhi, with nearly 40 years of teaching experience. A trained botanist, she loves to innovate teaching approaches in botany and to design experiments that can be performed with minimal and accessible resources. Besides teaching botany, she is deeply interested in environmental and science education. She has contributed towards developing several resource materials for teaching botany and science in general. She was awarded the Distinguished Teacher Award by the University of Delhi for excellence in teaching in 2009. Today, she'll be sharing valuable insights drawing from her rich experience on developing scientific temper in students with lessons from nature. Dr. Geeta, a very warm welcome to you and thank you for joining us today. Before we hand over the platform to you, I would like to announce a few things. Today's webinar is being live streamed on YouTube. As the talk proceeds, we welcome the audience on Zoom to post their questions for the speaker in the Q&A box. The chat box on Zoom and on YouTube are disabled. So to viewers who are joining us on YouTube, if you wish to ask questions to the speaker, you can join us on Zoom by following the link provided in the description of the video. We will now launch a quick poll to know our audience today. Shrutika?
Yeah, sure. Poll is live.
Okay. Okay, we can stop the poll now. Okay, we are almost 100% already. We can wait just a few seconds more. Okay.
Announced poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 29% of participants who are educators of biology. We have 7% who are educators in other disciplines. We have 32% of students, bachelor students. We have 11% who are master students, and we have 7% of PhD students.
All right, great. Thank you, Shrutika. So, range of educators and students, we welcome you all and hope you'll enjoy the talk today. Okay, over to you, Dr. Geeta.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I must thank India Bioscience team for asking me to give this webinar, and particularly Vijeta Raghuram. And I hope that what you have come to listen to, because I don't know most of you personally, and this is the first time I'm giving a webinar like that. I normally give to my university and college students, and this is my first experience. I hope I am able to satisfy what you have come to listen to. I think I'll right away start with my presentation. Just a minute.
Are you facing any difficulty?
Is it visible?
It
No.
was visible a minute ago.
Earlier.
Yeah, yeah, and it suddenly is switched off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Visible to you, but again, it's not visible to me. Just let me give it another try.
If you share your slide, like start the slideshow, I mean, it might become, yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, perfect. Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And today I'm going to talk about the this is what you must have all seen, and today we're going to have a discussion session after my talk. So I hope I generate enough enthusiasm in all of you to ask questions. I love lots of questions. And in this webinar, I'm going to discuss what is scientific temper, what is its relevance to current college teaching, why the need to develop it in students, how the teachers can play an important role, and I'm going to do this with examples from nature around us. I am a botanist by training, so my examples are all going to be from the plant world, and it is the most beautiful world that I'm going to take you through lots of my own clicked images and pictures. Let's see what is scientific temper. I just sorry. Yeah. All students of biology know this. Now I've taken this that basically this webinar is for teachers who are teaching biology, and there are lots of students and researchers also who have joined in. So let's see, to students of biology, this is something they all know. The basic difference between monocots and dicots, the cotyledons, the roots, the parallel and reticulate venation, the scattered vascular bundles and the bundles in the ring, and flowers, which are trimerous or tetramerous and pentamerous in dicots. But only those with scientific temper will interpret these simple fruits differently. Now, what I want to bring home is why the need for developing scientific temper. See, bananas and oranges, everyone is familiar with. So you don't think about them when you think of science, even if you are a biology student, even if you are a botany student. Now, if you just see the cut bananas, you will find that there are these black things are abortive ovules. We know that is a parthenocarpic fruit. So parthenocarpy is one thing we come to know. Second is it is trimerous, and the fruits are very interesting. They are always curved. They are curved upwards. The flowers on the plant are curved downwards, and the fruits are curved upwards. The fruit is very interesting to peel. We always hold the part of attachment and then open it. So just imagine if you just are holding a banana in your hand, close your eyes and just peel it. And you will find invariably you will be producing four peels like this. The reason is that it has predetermined lines along which you can tear it very easily. Do we ever think of these things? Then there are these fiber like long things, thread like things, which we just take and throw them away. What are these? Similarly, in orange, we see lots of dots on the surface, and some naughty kids even press this orange colored thing and put the juice into the eyes of their friends. What is this? Why is it coming out like that? All that is beautiful science. And you know this only if you develop scientific temper. The fruit, after peeling, you find there is some kind of a thread like structure all over. Now, this thread and this thread are different. Why? Interestingly, this is because banana is a monocot fruit and orange is a dicot. So that is going one step beyond just comparing the roots and the stems and the parallel venation. Now, developing scientific temper, for that you need scientific attitude, scientific approach, scientific thinking. You have to train your thinking. Scientific temper is a way of life which uses the scientific temper is a way of life which uses the scientific method to question, test, analyze, and communicate. It involves application of logic, hypothesizing, and discussing. Scientific temper is an attitude of the mind characterized by the spirit of inquiry and the acceptance of the right to question and to be questioned. Accept facts based on self testing or through investigation. That means you just don't take anything that comes your way and accept it. You must test it. There should be hands on approach, and that whatever results you get should be reproducible. If they are not reproducible, then the fact is not right, whatever you are investigating. And you have to be very open minded to all observations. Open mindedness relates to the way in which people approach the views and knowledge of others. So you should have an open mind when you're, if you are a scientist. What is the relevance of scientific temper to current college teaching? Why should we talk about this when we are at college level? The challenge, that is the correct new normal in today's scenario, is that the internet and social media have changed the relationship between students and professors or teachers, and are more teachers are more accessible and approachable now. Earlier, when we were students, we could not actually stop our teachers even in the corridor to ask something. But now with this social media, every now and then the teachers are being contacted, whether it is any hour of the day. The educators need to develop balance between firm and friendly, being firm and friendly with their students. This is a very important line which has to be maintained. Students have become self learners, and teachers have the role of facilitators or mentors. Because everything is accessible on the net, it is not the Guru Shishya kind of a relationship anymore. The students have access to everything that they want to learn, and the teachers have to ensure that they learn the right things in the right way, and they are actually being mentored by them. Students and teachers both need a lot of self organization and additional dedication. So, half the time people think that with everything available on the net, it has become very easy to teach and it's become very easy to learn. I would say it is other way around. There is so much information. Now there is an added role of mentors for teachers because new system is moving towards startups after graduation or post graduation. As a prerequisite, education is turning research centric. The educators today are not formally trained for this type of mentoring. Hence, they will have to put in extra efforts to understand the requirements of the students and even support them in evaluating the practical side of their ideas as to what they want to do. The educators are skilled researchers since they are PhDs. So you may ask, why does one need to be a PhD to teach in a college? Now is the requirement. Educators need to polish up their research oriented thinking to be good mentors. Mentors need to be guides, friends, as well as philosophers for their students. And the answer to achieving this is by instilling scientific temper in their students. Why the need to develop scientific temper in students? To become good scientists, they need scientific temper to help in self learning. What to learn and what not to learn, both are equally important. Sieving out the right things out of the whole mountain of information is what requires some kind of a special skill, and that is what is scientific temper. Who is a good scientist? The one who depends on repeatable solutions to any problem and understands the importance of negative or unexpected results. Now, this is another important thing we just overlook. If you are getting negative results in your experiment, does not mean that you are doing your experiment wrong, unless it is obviously you use some wrong chemical or something like that. But as far as biology is concerned, if you are getting some negative results or unexpected results, they are far more important than positive results. And during the course, I'll explain this further. The qualities of a good scientist are dedication, passion, consistency of efforts, truthful nature, sincerity to work, and tireless, the capacity to tirelessly work for hours. Students should ask themselves, do I have these qualities? Can I develop them? Yes, you can. Science is not just a course for a degree, it is much more. It trains your way of working, it changes your perspective, it inculcates a systematic approach, it makes your mind analytical, it widens your horizons, it emphasizes consistency of efforts, it gives you a targeted living, and it facilitates you to understand natural phenomena better. The 3 years that you spend in the college at undergraduate level is the time for self development for students. Students who are now young adults, passing or this is a transition phase between total protected environment of school to the totally open, free, whole wide world. And for this, they need to develop their personality, their self dependence, self respect, team spirit, new skills, communication capacity, decision making, and responsibility for all their actions. Teachers' role is very important as mentors and guides. After graduation, students will be facing the world just on their own. So, how can teachers play important role in instilling scientific temper in students? Let's see. Teachers can take various kinds of initiatives. They can organize field trips, which can be to, say, factories, they can be to the mountains or hills or some landscapes where they can study plants and animals. They can also set up discussion rooms. So, some small room can be set aside that whoever is free from classes can sit there and have discussion on things that they observe. Social media groups can be made for discussing scientific facts. Basic research lab and botanical garden can be a great asset if you make one in your um, premises, in your institution. Designing simple experiments with basic facilities is very important. And this will lead to the student being trying to solve a problem, and while solving a problem, what are the different facets of things which one has to come across, and they have to develop methods of overcoming those. And that is what is a great learning experience. And then you can also start technical publication. Just start a simple online, or maybe just a small publication from your institution, and you can help your students to learn to write technical, correct technical articles. Because what is happening with today's the short forms and all that which is being practiced, the skill of technical writing is disappearing. We must revive that. Now, in my view, there are 8 steps which can lead to developing scientific temper, whether it is for your students, for yourself, or if you are a student or a researcher. The most important is the first step, which is observation power. Observing something in nature, for biology students, the it is a different ball game than what you see for the physical sciences, or say for chemistry. In chemistry, if you look at chemistry, then if you're just say sodium plus Cl will give you NaCl, salt. Fine, straightforward. But in biology, this doesn't happen. There are so many things which you can observe and try to interpret and understand. Nature does not easily unravel the mysteries. So, what is important is observation is the most important. Then there should be eye for details, deep knowledge and clear concepts, capacity to apply scientific knowledge, observing and recording, analytical skills, vision for interpretation, and good communication and writing skills. Now, in the next few slides, I'm going to tell you how to work on these. And again, after that, we'll come back to this slide and discuss. So let's see what lessons we can get from nature. Learning from nature around us. Everywhere there is science. Science in my city, in the gardens, in science centers, in flower shows. Science in my neighborhood. There are trees and shrubs. Science in my backyard, lots of wild plants. Science in my kitchen, and I always say, kitchen is my lab too. There are cereals, fruits, vegetables, milk, curds, legumes, insect pests. Everything can tell you something which is very interestingly scientific, and train your mind to observe and analyze. And then science around daily life. Now I'll take you to a visual treat, and most of these pictures are myself clicked, and there are some which I have taken, and at the end I am going to give the source and where I've taken these from. If you grow maize in your college garden, you will find that all the cobs are in a single line. There are generally 14 nodes on a plant, and on the seventh and the eighth node, you will find the cobs. Why? Very interesting. Then, when you look at the cob, there are some silks, as we call them, and these silks are actually connected to each grain. If you break a cob, you will find that it has a whole ring, a single ring, and that is representing the rows which are present on the cob. And interestingly, whenever you are eating one, just break it and count. You'll always find it to be even number. Beautiful science behind that. And I want you to go searching for it yourself. Then these silks are very tender looking and pale and fresh looking when they are young. And as the pollination progresses, they start turning brown and start hanging down. And this is a still more mature cob. So you can say this is a young cob, this is older, this is older. And these ones are still older because they are all dried up here on top. So next time you go to purchase a cob, just see how many these silks are there on top. This will tell you the stage at which, if it is light colored, that means the cob still has tender grains, and if it has brownish, that means they are more mature. So what you want to use it for, you're going to make maybe a soup out of it, then you need the more mature ones. If you're just going to roast and eat, then you need the tender one. And so this is one plant which can give you so much of scientific information that you really love to enjoy. The wild plants in the garden. Oxalis corniculata, this is called wood sorrel. This is a very interesting plant, and it is edible, and it is put in a lot of chutneys because it has sour taste. And this has fruits. If you just break these fruits, they are produced on this wild plant. This comes up in your pots everywhere, at least in Delhi and surrounding areas, maybe in the city where you are also. You just take this and put it on your table, and you will hear a big plop after this turns brown because it will burst with a noise, and these seeds will spread all over your table. Enjoy this and find out more about it. Euphorbia hitta. This is a climate indicator. When the leaves start turning reddish, that means the temperature is going down. And this leaves, which will be produced afterwards, will be all red and they'll be much smaller in size. This plant can be seen throughout the year, and this that is why it can be actually used as an indicator for weather conditions. Do plants sleep? Yes, they do. Just see these two small wild plants. This is a wild plant. This is Philanthus, and this has this is the open state, and this is the sleeping state. So as the evening starts, you find all the leaves just turning down and closing up. In the morning, they'll be all fresh and open. This is another species of oxalis, and in this, the leaves will close in the evening and open in the morning. What is the basis of sleep movements? And there is so much more to study about it. Lessons from flowers. If you see this top row, these flowers are very interesting. This one is lantana. The buds are pink. The freshly opened flowers are yellow. By the evening, they start turning orangish, and the next day also they are orange, and then deeper colors. And finally, they turn maroon and drop. And at a given time, there'll always be all these stages on the same inflorescence. The another one is this. This is a quite close relative of cotton, and this is the flower which is yellow and it opens and after pollination turns maroon. This one I wish I could ask you what it is, because just by seeing this, you may not be able to say that this is mango. Mango also has change in color from yellow to red. And you can see this style on the at the bottom is the ovary. Style is unequally placed, and that is the reason why we get the fruit of the typical shape slightly bent on one side. Interesting. We just think mangoes are for eating. This is Quisqualis or Malti or Madhumalti climber, and this has all the buds white and at right angles. And that is because they open late in the evening. They have nocturnal pollinators, and in the morning they start turning pink and going down. And right at the bottom are those which were opened a couple of days earlier. So these all these phenomena are very interesting. This one is indicating how the plant is managing to send the pollinators only to the fresh flowers, because the pollinators cannot see this color and this appears black to them at night. So there is a lot to observe, and right now I am still at the question of observing and then asking questions. Now, there are, this set shows markings and lines on flowers which act as guides to the location of nectar. This ensures that pollination occurs. There are some insects which you see all around, but you hardly ever notice them. This is what is called bird dropping insect. It is actually a caterpillar, not bird dropping. So this is a kind of a method to hide, camouflage from the predators who will want to eat a soft caterpillar. Then this is a praying mantis, a very small one, and this was on the karipatta plant in my house. This is a caterpillar too, this one also. And this one looks like the lid of a water bottle. This caterpillar looks quite dangerous, but this gives rise to this kind of butterfly. So there is a lot of things to observe and understand. Now, there are lots of economic plants which we introduce, and sunflower is an interesting oil crop because to grow this, you must have apiculture. If you don't keep bees, then your sunflowers will not produce seeds and oil. So, this is how these are maintained at 50 meters from each other in the field. These bees have sacs, they fill them up with pollen. They have pollen all over their bodies. See, these are filled ones in it. So they go about pollinating, and the juice of the flower they use as an energy drink for this themselves. This is just one of these which has been split to show you that this is how the seed develops. This is a tender flower, and this, you know, that sunflower is not a flower but an inflorescence. So these are the tender ones which must have opened last, and these are the ones which are growing into seeds. Now, coming to other examples, we see so many things in our house. Milk boiling, when water boils, it doesn't spill over. And you know that there is formation of a film on top, and that film, when pushed, will make the milk spill. If you add vinegar or lime juice to milk, then you have formation of paneer. If you just add a little inoculum to milk, the next day it will set into curds. It looks quite solid. Is it solid bacteria? No. Then why is it solid? It is not frozen milk. Have you ever thought of why it is solid? And if you cut this, then after some time, what will we collect here? Why is all this happening? There is beautiful science which you will be able to get to if you develop scientific temper. Now, if you take rice and grind it, you'll get rice flour. But if you take wheat, you get three types of flour: atta, maida, and suji. All three have different uses. For maida, you need to always super cook. That is, you need to either uh, fry it or you need to bake it at very high temperatures to become digestible. Suji is what is made into halwa, it is made into food for infants and also for elderly. Atta is the one which can give chapatis, but not suji. And maida will just give you stretchable chapatis, kind of maybe. If you make bhatura, then you fry it and then you are able to eat it. Now the reason is, how do you get these three from the same grain? This grain, when you cut a longitudinal section, for a student of biology, it is a monocot, so a single, the embryo is here, which we call as scutellum, and there's a single cotyledon. And this cotyledon has an outermost row just below the brown layer. In wheat, there is a layer, and this is what we call as eleuron. And this eleuron layer is rich in proteins. So, by roller mills, we separate out suji first, and then maida, and middlings make the atta. So there is beautiful size there. Then in there are numbers. See, this is a single row in peas. That means this is made up of only one carpel. Tomato is made up of two carpels. So there are two placental regions. Then cucumber has three. Similarly, bhindi or ladyfinger has five carpels. This is an orange, and you see one small carpel here. This is because it has to make this number to 13. So if you go by 1, 2, 3, 5, 13. So 1 plus 1 makes 2, 2 plus 1 makes 3, 3 plus 2 makes 5, and 5 plus 3 makes 8. And the next total will form 13. And this is called as Fibonacci series, found in plants, and there is a lot to in plants and animals and in all. There is a Fibonacci ratio, the golden ratio, which is developed from this, and on which depend the spirals. How many left-handed spirals, how many right-handed spirals. These trees of Araucaria always went bent towards the equator. Why? This is all very interesting. Then there are, if there is too much rain, then they will will collect, and on that will algae will grow and the plant will die. If this dries up, it will leave cracks. And if you from this plant which was going to die, if you just dig up and cause aeration, then the plant will survive. What is all this? You can learn a lot of ecology by these. Invasive tree Prosopis juliflora does not allow anything to grow underneath. So the first thing is to observe that nothing is growing there. And this is the inflorescence, a member of Mimosaceae. So these are what you see are actually the anthers, and these are the pods. When these pods fall here on the ground, they are responsible for nothing being able to grow. For this, you need to design experiments, do experimentation, and see. Eucalyptus, which is called safeda, is called so because it has a white stem. The flowers are beautiful, but if you see the flowers of jamun or the flowers of guava, then you find that all the three belong to the same family. The family is Myrtaceae. You'll study taxonomy. Alstonia scholaris is the devil's tree, and this produces fruits which are stand like this. And the leaves are in whorls. So if you just look at one of these carefully, from a single flower, two long structures come out. And this total is one fruit. Why? Because it belongs to Apocynaceae family. It has bicarpellary apocynous gynoecium. That means the two carpels do not fuse, they remain separate. Do we ever notice this? Do we ever see this? When we see grass, sometimes in the daytime, on a hot day, we find that the leaves are rolled up. So how do they get rolled up? There are epidermal cells, which we call as bulliform cells. These lose water and the leaf will roll up. And especially when you see a patch of grass on which we are regularly walking across, then you will find that because of the aberration, these will collapse and the leaves on the patch will seem to just disappear or just lie low, and you see a passage. Just like when the cricketers do their bowling on the grass, they make a line. So all what is happening there is just this phenomenon. There are lots of plants that we see that which are growing just anywhere. And this is because these are huge big trees like people, but the fruits are so small, and this has hundreds of seeds. So they remain colloidal size seeds. they float in the wind, and that is why you can find these plants growing even on rooftops. Some are other plants, the seeds are eaten by birds, and wherever the bird droppings fall, then these just spread there. This is a plant which is very interesting to select if you want to do some studies. Just see the formation here. This kind of formation is totally in understanding with the Fibonacci series. And these are always present in pairs. So two small ones, these two open because their leaves are opposite decussate. And then these are young fruits, the one corolla still hanging there, and then the mature fruits. So within 4 nodes, you can see a whole lot of changes. So if you want to do some studies in a short time, that is like when you're in a attending classes and doing something, it should be very easily and fast visible. This is one plant. So this is what examples which initially I made that list, and accordingly I've shown you 7 examples. But there are lots of places where you can go around and see the plants. And in Delhi, there are biodiversity parks, 7 of them. There are gardens, and I'm sure in your cities also they are there. This is an example of the Garden of Five Senses. It gives the senses being are like touch, aroma, sound, taste, all these. Then there are other gardens which have other interesting features. I'm just going slightly faster because I am running out of time. So then there are herbal gardens in Talkutura Garden. You can visit that and see. There are so many flower shows held throughout the year in Delhi, and this is from chrysanthemum show. So many types of chrysanthemums. They're all chrysanthemums, but they don't look like identical. Then rose show in Delhi, which show this rose show had some beautiful green roses, and the chrysanthemums are also green chrysanthemums. So there are many places. Flora Expo was held in Delhi in this year, and see how this whole flower has growing has become an industry. So by tissue culture, by genetic engineering, by whole lot of methods, now these are being grown. Now coming back to that slide which you're seeing now, with all these examples from nature, we're going to just see how these 8 things have taken shape. So what we need is this is the input from the teachers and the students as well. The most important thing is to be interested. If you have interest, then you will observation power, you will register in your mind. So whatever you see, it gets lodged into your mind and you start thinking about it. When you start thinking, then you have eye for details and you ask the right questions. Once you do that, then you go reading about it to develop deep knowledge and clear concepts. Once you have that, then you must have the capacity to apply scientific knowledge, train your thinking, scientific thinking. Then observing and recording is very important. You have to be very meticulous, be systematic and organized. Then analytical skills, both mathematical and computational skills are important. And then vision for interpretation in light of existing literature. If you achieve this sequence, then the output will be maybe in the form of a presentation, in the form of publication, application somewhere, or you may land up making a startup. The advantages of developing scientific temper are students with scientific temper are natural learners. Scientific temper makes you think, observe, and analyze in an organized manner. Such students make great scientists. With scientific temper, you can identify, plan, and organize new startups. Instead of looking for jobs, students can become job providers earlier in life. You can inspire others around you with examples from nature. Now that's what I had to tell you. These are the references which I have consulted, and this is a list for further reading. Nature is full of mysteries. Come, let us solve them with scientific temper. Here is my email ID. I write a blog on plants, and then my website. You may just take a click of this, and yeah, you can contact me for anything that you want to know any further about this. Thank you. Over to you, Vijayta.
Yes, Dr. Geeta. If you could stop sharing. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Geeta. That was a riveting talk with such beautiful examples from nature. And thank you for reminding us to just slow down and observe the world around us because it's such beautiful examples around. And, the kind of interesting questions that can come up in our minds when we just stop and observe uh, could be a great step towards developing scientific temper. So we will now take some questions from the audience. Um, right. So Beatrice has asked a question. Madam, how to motivate our students to draw when they observe? Many students don't have the patience, though in the college, because in biology, drawing is also a skill.
I know, I understand that fully because this is something every teacher feels that students just don't want to draw now. Why? Because even for microscopic slide, right on top of the microscope, they can put their mobile camera and click it. And then they say, okay, I'll put a printout there. Why draw all these cells sitting? What am I doing learning by this? See, drawing, seeing something and drawing is a skill. So don't leave the skill to the mechanical thing like the mobile. You are not learning anything out of it. But when you draw a section from the slide, you will see that it has different types of cells. You will know which cells are to be drawn double lined because they have thick walls, which are to be filled with dots because they represent phloem, and which cells have intercellular spaces which do not have. So, from that slide, you are able to learn so much if you draw. If you don't draw, so drawing is not just making a sketch, it is not an art class, it is a science class where you learn everything that you are seeing and to register in your mind. If you put it down on paper, then you will never forget. So don't think that students normally say, I have to make the file. You are not making a file. You are recording something in a file. And when you're recording something in the file, you must first be recording it in your mind. And if it is reaching your mind, then it is a skill for you. I hope this answers.
Definitely. Going to the next question, Subhajit Sen has asked, with decreasing attention span of younger generations, how can teachers comply given that the average class is about an hour at least? So how do they keep up the attention of the younger generation throughout that 1 hour of class?
See, for that, you have to be a very observant teacher. It is not just to blame the students if they are not interested in your class. You have to do some soul searching and find out what is missing. What is it that I agree that the time span concentration has reduced because they have become those fast food culture outputs. So everything they want fast. But if you give them something interesting, if whatever you are teaching from that, you can tell them how it will be of use for them in the future and how it is important to understand this. Don't say, I'm going to teach something which is very difficult. If you don't pay attention, you will never understand. They will not understand even if you are explaining very well. But if you say, I find this very interesting, let us see, from this, we go to this. From this, we teach, we learn this. Or make it a kind of a palatable package for them. You have to make them enthusiastic, interested. Interest is something, you see, if you're not interested in doing something, you'll never have time for it. But if something attracts your interest, you will always find time. So you have to treat your students that way. Today's student has so much of diversion that you have to actually draw them into your class, not physically, but their minds. So when you are teaching, and what happens in school or college teaching is, after one class, another class starts. Say after one subject being taught, the teacher goes out, another teacher comes, starts on what she is teaching. They should be reoriented into what they were being taught in the previous class by that teacher. To do what we call as brushing up, and then leave them with some interesting think question. I did that to many classes. If I'm teaching, say I just told you about wheat. So next class I have to teach about wheat. And they'll say, wheat, what is there to learn? What is botany about it? And then you say, okay, now you see there are three types of flour. Find out at home, ask your parents, grandparents, why there is a difference. What is the difference? Is it that if you take a suji and just put it through a mill and make it very fine, will it get converted to maida? No, it will not. Their cooking is different. The products you can make, the food you can cook with, that is different. So just give them some. When I'm going out, I would say, next time I'm going to talk about wheat, and I'm going to ask you about why you get these and how you get them. So that kind of thing, if you try, you can make your class more interesting, I'm sure. Life is something very interesting. Anything that is living is far more fascinating than just what is happening in a test tube. So tell your students that you are biology students. Learn from life and learn about life. Okay?
Okay. So Shrutika has a question. For educators in urban areas with limited access to natural environments, what strategies or adaptations do you suggest to bring nature into the classroom?
Oh, my dear, if you are staying outside a city, you have access to far more of nature than you have in a city. In cities, there are gardens and parks and biodiversity parks and all these, they are all man developed. But in nature, there is much more of nature around you. Learn from everything. How do plants coexist? You know that there is a plant called bichu booty. You heard of that? If you in the hills, if you go there and there is one plant, if you touch that plant, you'll have a burning sensation. And if you take a plant which is called palak patta, which is growing just below that, if you take that and rub it on your hand, that is the antidote. So how these two are living together? They are not for us, obviously. But why has nature designed such things? Why do some things grow on slopes? Why do some plants grow in particular places? Some where there is more soil, some where there is less soil, and what is their role? And you can do a lot of observation. You can, and the most beautiful flowers to a botanist are those tiny little flowers on wild plants. The larger ones, those roses and all, everybody can appreciate, but it is only a botanist who can appreciate. If you go to some place where there are mosses growing, and you see one moss called pogonatum, which has got a hairy calyptra, as it is called, it will always get a smile to your face, and it will teach you a lot of things about the plant and the place where it is surviving. So don't think that if you are away from a city, you are missing out on nature. You're closer to nature.
No, I think she meant the other way around. So educators in urban areas.
In urban areas, okay, in urban
So, but
areas,
I think
I
it's
had
all
listed
about,
out all those
yeah.
cities
So a lot of
and
examples if we
cities. Yeah.
just look
So you can
around.
just take the students to those places, and students can go there themselves. They can go for a picnic. These biodiversity parks in Delhi, I have been to all of them because of my interest, but I think they're all, I've always taken my picnic packet with me. And with my family, I've gone there and everyone enjoys. And I just tell them about a few plants and everybody is fascinated. Think you can use plants for exciting even little children.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a couple of very interesting questions from students. So one is Ankita Bhattacharya. Ma'am, please talk about future research work. I'm recently passed out from MSc in botany, and she has specialized in plant taxonomy. In future, okay, let me just rephrase what she has said. So she's basically interested in understanding what are the possible research areas in botany. So if you could name a few upcoming research areas in the field of botany.
See, as far as research is concerned, the in every field there is a kind of a sequential interest in research as to what is going on around and what is the immediate demand. Say, we can say that maybe research started with, we can still call it research in earlier times, just for identifying medicinal plants, then and food plants. After that, there's research on the proteins which are present in them, then research on enzymes, which are again proteins but functional proteins, and then the physiology of plants. So there are phases in which the research is going on. And now is a stage when there is multiple options. Why? Because we have so much demand on nature. On one hand, we need molecular biology, we need genetic engineering, we need modification of plants to become suitable for us. So that is more productivity, that is survival and areas which are arid and all that. On the other hand, because of environmental degradation, the taxonomy has become a science which we don't call taxonomy anymore. We call it plant systematics. And taxonomy or systematics is a discipline which is drawing from all other disciplines. And that is why this field will be in great demand in the near future. Of course, botanists have now becoming going deeper into molecular biology. They have forgotten the to learn the names of trees and plants. It may surprise you that very many, even senior botanists who are very skilled at their job, if you ask them about 10 trees growing in their colony, they may not know their correct botanical name. So it is going to be a very demanding field. And I'm very happy to know somebody is interested in this particular discipline because I generally try to tell my students to get interested in this.
There is
Ecology and
there are some very interesting follow-up questions based on
okay,
what you're saying.
okay, fine. So
I think, yeah, we'll take those, and I think it'll be time to wrap up.
oh,
So Mini Gupta asks, I would like to know how to decide whether to go for further research in the future, like PhD or not. And on similar lines, a teacher, Saranya Perumal, asks, at college level, the students are not showing interest to do research or any other additional curricular activities. is there any specific skills or techniques to motivate the students? So if you
Yes.
could share your thoughts on why
Yes, I think
students
I'll
should
knit
do
up
this.
an answer for both of them together because you are running out of time. I
Yes,
understand.
yes, yes.
See, the most important thing to understand is the importance of research. What is research? Research is where you take up an issue and you try to solve it. And if you are trying to solve a particular issue, then you will have so many things coming across and you will have to learn from many other disciplines. So, by doing research, particularly PhD, it is you are going to develop your mental skills in various disciplines. You might need information from physics, you might information from zoology, you might need about, say, if you're studying about pollination, you should know what is the insect, the pigments in the plants, what colors do the insects see, do they see the same colors as human beings? There are a lot of interesting things that you will learn, not just interesting but useful things which will make you a much better scientist. And as far as the teacher's question is concerned, the simplest thing to do is to give them small projects, just like I mentioned in my list as to what all teachers can do. You just give them simple projects. Maybe just make them germinate some seeds like that of mustard or even wheat. Just let them germinate them in, say, different conditions as to what is the percentage germination in mustard, if you, and how much of salt they can withstand and things like that. If you just give some small experiments which can be done, maybe rooting of cuttings, which they can do even at home, encourage them to study something on their own. And if they study something on their own, they will get interested in the subject. So that is, hands on is absolutely necessary. And in today's world, if you are able to do some small experiments requiring some information, and there is so much of computational facility available, you can even run lots of experiments just on the computer. So there can be a wet lab portion and a dry lab portion to an experiment. So all these combinations will make your students get fascinated with the subject. I hope that answers it, Vijeta.
Yeah, I think so. I think overall, our audience must be really energized by this talk, and be at least more curious about the natural world around us. So thank you, Dr. Geeta, and to all of you who joined us today. And I sincerely hope that you found many inspirations from today's talk for your own practice, be it teaching, research, or any other professions. And I'm sure the students who joined us today too found valuable lessons in the talk. I also thank Shrutika Raut, who is interning with us and who handled the poll and the chat box today. Thanks, Shrutika.
Thank
Um,
you, Shrutika. You've been very nicely handling everything, technical side of this whole thing.
Oh,
And thank you, Vijeta, for giving me this chance. And I just want to tell everybody who has attended this that I believe that once a student, always a student. I would love to get your feedback. I would love to answer your queries. You can you can email your questions to me, and I promise to give answers to everyone. May not be immediately, but uh, I always answer any questions that any student asks me. And
that's
you
wonderful.
are a teacher. You again when I'm here. You are my student. So everyone is welcome to interact with me in future as well. Thank you for patiently listening through. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And we now request all of you to spare a few minutes after the talk to share your feedback with us and help us produce webinars that are even more insightful and helpful for educators in the future. And the feedback form will appear soon after the webinar ends. To receive regular updates about our activities, you can subscribe to our bi-monthly newsletter and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. See you next time. Bye.